You see the world, right? I told you I was going to happen. It's just beginning. It's going to get worse. It's not getting any better. They blow that trumpet, that's it.
We gotta get the family back in the power of love. We can beat these devils. We will beat these devils. But everybody has to work together.
I was watching you as you transcended right there, and I was like, whoa, see, part of your body, part of your referred to as your astral body, as you'll call it, part of it left lifted right up and went right back in. You like took a deep breath, and then you relaxed, and I saw it leave out your astral and then go right back in. That's because you're caught up. Remember your thing caught up in two worlds? It says it could be caught up. You're caught up in two worlds. You're caught up between the spiritual world and the physical world because of your DNA, because your what they call up your blood type, and that has to do with the arrangements of your nucleotides. There's a cinema called Doctor Strange, a new cinema out called Doctor Strange. Not very new, you can get it, but Doctor Strange, and they're going to explain in that movie. They're showing all kind of ancient symbols and stuff that just blew my mind. And they're going to talk about the astral body and all that. I just disclosed that information to the next level. That's what I've been doing. So I started giving them the steps on how to make that next level. And part of it is how to. I explain the astral body and how to get it out of the body. But you go out, but you drop right back in. And sometimes when you're sleeping, you'll be sleeping and you'll feel like you're sitting up, but you're still laying down. Your spiritual master won't let you go any further because you can get stuck out the body. But, I mean, you'll wake up, but your astral body will be out your body, and you can go into what's called a time loop. A time loop means you keep on reliving that same event over and over again. But you won't know it because you'll be body and spirit. Your soul will step out. Your soul can disconnect itself from the human body, and the spirit, which is the life force, the personality, and the you is still there. And all the things you think are still there, but the essence of you, the decision maker of the spiritual side of you, that's a better way of putting it, is out the body. If I was able to sit with you and I could train you in no time to just step right up out your body, and you'll sit there and you'll look back and I'll point and you'll be able to see yourself sitting there out your body. And because you have someone there, because someone has to be there to guide you through those steps. Otherwise, there's so many gateways and doorways interdimensionally that one can get lost in. That's what Jesus Christos was trying to tell everybody. You can get caught up. And that's why he told Judas. He showed Judas. He said, Judas, you just got the devil. I just saw Satan enter your body. Get out of here. But they said you are Satan. But what Jesus said in Aramaic was, I just saw Satan. I just saw the spirit of evil enter your body. Get up out of here because the reason why I say get up out of here is because it's infective. It can spread from person to person. The same way when a bunch of women are living in the same house and all their menstrual cycles line up. With men, when a bunch of men live in the house, their emotional or angers towards each other line up. So they tend to side with each other against other men. See, it happens on both, on infinite, which is the circle, and finite, which is the square. It happens both ways. I'm not, there's nothing to do with Freemasonry. Freemasonry came thousands of years after what I'm trying to explain. Okay?
Rahubat, Moisar, Rahubat. We are back. We're back with more Wu-Sabat. We're back with more Wu-Sabat. Welcome. Kabul. We're here today. We have a lot to cover as usual. We always got a lot to cover, but that's our job, and we're going to do our job the best we can, and it's all good. It's all good. For those who do not know, a 36 years student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Pandabab Yananan, also known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture. We know as Wu-Sabat, also known as Wu-Nawap, which stands for those who make decisions based on sound right reasonability, based on the principles of Ma'at, based on the wisdom of the Hutri. In essence, our culture was about living in harmony with nature. Our culture, our original culture was about living in harmony with nature. This was the culture of our ancestors. The culture of our ancestors, as we keep saying, prior to colonizations, all the wars and invasions into the continent and the Americas, the culture was always connected to nature. Now, within the last 500 years, we've been living European Western cultures that has nothing to do with connecting to nature. And humanity has been paying a big price for that, because you cannot be a part of nature and not connect with nature. We all come from nature. We used to know this, but because we've lost our reasonability, we've lost our knowledge of our origins and our original culture, we have allowed ourselves to be disconnected, and we have been suffering ever since, and the planet has been suffering ever since. And so this is the mission of all students of Wu-Sabat, all students of Nawapu, all Nawapians. Our mission is to re-educate our people about this ancient culture. And this is what the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, has dedicated himself for over 60 some odd years as re-educating us, which is why he called himself the Mujaddid, the reformer, one who came to reform us, to renew us, to restore our original way. And with that original culture comes our power. We have power. We're very powerful people, but we've lost sight of our essence, of what we really are. And so because of that, we fell. And we fell hard. And so we're going to do our work today. So today is we're going to talk about, do you understand the difference between the soul and the spirit, right? This is really a part 2, because we've had this discussion about the soul and the spirit 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we did this on the soul and the spirit. And I highly recommend you all to check that out, to check out that particular lecture we did. Let me see. This is our YouTube page right here. And if you go back 4 years ago, it was what is soul and spirit. Check that lecture out, because it's extremely profound. That was 4 years ago. And so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to add on, right? We're going to go into a little bit more details about things we did not cover back then, right? And so, in fact, we're going to just walk through the books and show you what the master teacher had explained to us about this topic, because he's been talking about this topic of soul and spirit from the foundation of his teachings way back in the 60s. I think the first book on the subject matter came out in the 70s, and then he kept updating and renewing it in the 90s, and then in the 2000s, and now in the actual facts and Patadas, we have books on soul and spirit. So this is a reoccurring topic that the master teacher has been addressing. Why? Because this is the key to everything. And us as students been having a very difficult time comprehending the concept of soul and spirit. A very difficult time. And so there's no way to restore ourselves. Remember, our culture is about restoring ourselves. We have internal powers. And you can't do that if you don't even acknowledge what you are, right? That you have an indwelled spirit and a soul force. As woolly-haired, melanated people we're talking to. You have an indwelled soul force as children of the sun. And you must acknowledge that. You must become in tune with it. You must become aware of it, because European Western culture has told you there's no such thing as a spirit or soul. They're like, that's only for religious people. And they don't have any, there's no proof or facts with it. And that's just utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. In fact, the Europeans are the only ones who promote that stuff. In the Eastern cultures, whether it be India or China, everyone overstood spirit forces and soul forces. This was well acknowledged. But of course, the world has adapted to European dominating culture. And so they've given up this ancient knowledge, this supreme knowledge. But fear not, because the beauty of our culture has been restored by way of the master teacher, Wu-Sabat. And so we're going to go into detail about your spirit and your soul and why it's so important for you to acknowledge that. It's extremely key. Extremely key. So I repeat, we did this lecture, like I said, 4 years ago. So definitely check it out. Listen to this one, right? And then go back and listen to the other one, and then come back to this one. Because you know me, I'm always telling you guys, it is extremely important to listen to the lectures more than once if you want true edification. Because this is not about, just listening, then you're moving on to the next video or the next movie or whatever. This is about being able to understand what's being said so that you can apply it. And obviously, as students, we've been having a difficult time with a lot of the concepts the master teacher's been teaching because we haven't put it into actual practice the way it needs to be effectively so we can see the results. Because our ultimate goal is the restoration of our power. And you can't restore your power if you don't put the teachings into practicality. And that's why student teachers like myself exist, to help you guys, to answer questions and to move you along. Or for us to work together in helping making sense of this doctrine so that we can begin to get results. As you know, I've been talking about lately is, what are we looking for? We're looking for what we call the true Nawapians, right? The master teacher told us about, the goal is, where are the true Nawapians? Those who really want to live the culture. This is so important. Who really wants to live the culture of Wu-Sabat? Because the question, comes up. Who really wants to be liberated from being controlled by, the Western world? And that's what it boils down to. Where are the true Nawapians? Those who really want to live the culture. That's what our discussions are all about. We're looking for them. So I repeat, it's so important to also spread the word, right? Let people know that this is one of the obligations of all students of Wu-Sabat, is to spread the word, because our people are so massively ignorant about their own origins, about their original culture, and their own spiritual nature. And so that's what we're here to do, is to make all of those things clear. So, the master teacher wrote a book, like I said, on this very topic, on what is spirit and soul. And we're going to go through it among a lot of the different books and just show you in our doctrine where the master teacher was explaining this subject matter and why this subject matter is so important. So definitely just relax. Take your time. This is a process. And it's a very involved subject matter even for me, because as I, have been on my own personal journey of my spiritual development, more and more clarity on this subject matter has been becoming clear for me, because I had one level of understanding of soul when I did this lecture 4 years ago. And now 4 years later, I have another layer of comprehension of what it means. So this is a process of mental growth and development for those who are on that journey, right? And so, because what is our ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is resurrection, to be able to get out of this density that I've been talking about, right? You see the smack circle here, and we're stuck on the third density as human beings, and our ancestors are operating from the fourth density up to the ninth density. And so this is what resurrection, those who are able to transcend this realm, you have to increase your vibration. You can't do that without your soul. You need your soul in order to do that. That's why the subject matter is so important. And our people have surrendered their souls. And they've done so because they're totally ignorant on what a soul is. They've literally forgotten about what a soul is. And our ancestors explained this in detail. That's why in ancient Kemet, all of this knowledge goes back to ancient Kemet. Soul was Ba, and spirit was Ka. One of the master teachers who taught about the nature of the soul and spirit. Master teacher by the name of Amenhotep, son of Happel. Amenhotep, son of Happel. This is him. Amenhotep, son of Happel. He was a high priest during the dynasty of Amenhotep III dynasty. Amenhotep III was the father of Akhenaten, and Akhenaten was the father of the famous King Tut. So Amenhotep III and his wife T, everybody know about the Nisutet, the female ruler T, the wife of Amenhotep III, and their high priest was Amenhotep, son of Happel, who was a grand master. And he taught about the nature of the Ba and the Ka. This is where the Greeks and the Romans got that information, where they, you know, how they put it in their religion, where they get the ruach for soul in their religion and nephesh for spirit in their religion. We're gonna touch on that, right? The difference between the two. So let's get going. Where are we at? So let's go back to the scroll. Here we go. Okay, so this is the what is spirit and soul, and this particular version of it came out like in 2001. Just so you know, I always like to tell the dates of the books. And family, you know, I want to remind it one more time. You know, share these discussions. Let people know the importance that we do these live discussions every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Spread the word. It's so important, especially in this day and time. Our people need this knowledge. They need to know about their actual true nature, about their spiritual nature that they've been neglected. You know, they haven't been told what they are. All right, so on page 36 of this particular scroll, the master starts here. The soul, a soul is the ether, the life force within you, and is the source of the vitality of life for all forms. Part of Nagato, right? So it's the ether part of you, and it's an important aspect that sustains our life, right? Our soul. So that's One aspect. It gets deeper. All right, so let's see where we're at now. He goes here on page 38. It talks about the nefs. This in Arabic, the word for spirit is nefs. From the word nafasa, which means to breathe or breath, or to take a breath. In Hebrew, the word spirit is nefesh. And so when the ruh comes from the all, the ruh means wind, comes from the all, right? The creative force. The ruh is synonymous with soul. It comes from the creative force. Our soul force comes from the creative force itself. Okay? And so it's a part of the all. So when the ruh became physical, it became nefs, spirit. So our soul, as we incarnated, because we start off as ether beings, and as we dropping down, it crystallized into a soul force. And as we're dropping down, the spirit comes into play. It crystallizes into a spirit, and we drop down more. And once you get to the planet Earth, you take on the elements of Earth, the magnetic field. You take on the magnetic field, which is based on the elements of the planet Earth. That's why all species on Earth have the same genetics. All species on Earth, we've talked about this before in other lectures. I explained how all species on Earth have the same genetics. That makes you an earthling. So that's important to know. That's why they say, I think, 25% of a banana we have the same essence of a banana, the same genetic makeup, like 25%. It's funny. You look it up. And that's because all species on Earth, that's why with 98% the same genetics as a monkey, but we're nothing like a monkey and all. But because we all have using the same genetics, but our spirit forces and our soul force is what makes us unique. Okay? Your spirit force and the soul force is what makes you unique. So it's important to know the difference there. That's why they don't tell you about it. The Mukasada, he acts like it doesn't exist when he knows better. But let's keep going. So he says here on page 39 in the Quran, chapter 2, it talks about spirit is defined as nefs or nefesh, and it's used in the Hebrew, and it also means your personality. So your spirit is your personality, the type of individual you are. So that's important to know. So your nefesh spirit is merely the spirit that is the life force that exists in all living things, even plants. So all living things on earth has a spirit force that sustains its life. All living things on the planet has a spirit force that sustains its life. But it's not the same as the soul force. Our soul force sustains us along with our spirit. There is a distinction. We're going to get into that. So question, let's see, is the spirit what takes you to the next plane, right? So the next plane that we're talking about, I said before, our goal is to transcend from the third density to the fourth density. That's our goal, which is the mental plane. That's where the masters are. The masters are operating from the fourth density up to the ninth. So the question is your spirit is what helps you make that transition? And the answer is yes. It is the spirit that decides whether you move to a higher plane or burn out your desire for the physical plane. The person who has strong love for the physical world will desire rebirth into the physical plane. We talked about our people are reincarnated. And the master said most of us have reincarnated for the 9,000 times. And he said you get up to 24,000 reincarnations. And every time you got to reincarnate back to this third density, your memory is wiped. So you don't remember your last incarnation. So if you want to retain your memories and your personality, you have to be able to resurrect, and you need your soul to do that. And we're going to get into that. So your spirit is your personality. How you see yourself, the way you think, the way you perceive things. So it's extremely important to understand that. And so you need your spirit to take you to the next realm, but it won't do it if you're not doing the things to develop your spirit, to keep it healthy, right? That's where spiritual work comes into play. So let's keep going. So question, how are emotions related with your physical desires? Let's see. Answer, your desires stem from your emotions. For example, you have sexual emotions, which is the desire to satisfaction and pleasure. Then you have glutton emotions, which is desire for an extreme amount of food. You have greed emotions, which is the desire for everything, whether you need it or not. And when you don't get these things, it sets these emotions into motion. How? These are the emotions that if you don't get what you want, makes you angry, makes you fight, or even makes you kill. Anger is the most devastating emotion. For instance, gluttony causes you to overeat and lead to obesity, that in turn leads to sickness and disease, which can lead to death. Sex causes you to lust and leads to sickness and diseases that can lead to death, such as AIDS, right? Don't let your sexual desires let you take chances you wouldn't normally take and regret them once you have, a disease like AIDS. So it says, I'm not saying don't have feelings. However, you must be in control of your emotions, which is the most difficult thing for us to do, living in this darn capitalistic society that's constantly advertising us to get stuff all day, every day. And our whole lifestyle in this system, that's why it's dangerous to live in this type of system for us, because it's literally designed to trap you emotionally through the media, the marketing, the advertising. The minute you step out your house, that's all you see is stuff attacking your consciousness to engage in, to feed your desires. And our people have no clue. They're walking around like zombies, don't realize what's being done to them. That's why it's a blessing. Really, it's a blessing for someone to even be interested in the culture of Wu-Sabat, because as you can see, majority of our people are mindless, and they don't realize what's being done to them. They're draining their soul force and their spirit by feeding into their desires constantly, and they don't have any clue what they're really doing to themselves. So blessed are the ones who are wise enough to study the teachings of Wu-Sabat. So the master says, unless you are in control of your emotions, you will not be able to overcome your physical desires, and your spirit will not be able to encourage the soul to rise into the spiritual plane. So you need your spirit and your soul must unite as one, and that's what propels you to the higher realms. The mental plane is where we're going towards to be able to get out of here. Because here in this particular scroll, I've talked about this before. Where we at? Page 10. This is in the message of Yanun, where the master talks about you have to get through those 9 gates. There are 9 gates. So planet Earth is in the middle. It's in the middle, and there's 9 gates in order to get out of this realm, out of the material plane that were trapped in the 3rd density, to get to the 4th density. And so what happens is your ancestors, the masters, the Nathar, the Etherians will help you get out of this, get through the gates if you're doing the spiritual work. The master teacher explains to us. That's why we do the prayers, the chanting, the meditation. All of those things strengthen your spirit, and that's what they're in tune with. The Etherians are connected to you spiritually. So every time you're doing spiritual work, it connects you to them. So if you build a lifestyle doing that for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of spiritual development, you're locked into them. So when you transition, they're there to meet you. And they will guide you out of this realm. And because the master said we have 1 or 2 destinations, you either go to Saha, what they call Orion, or Septu, which they call Sirius, star system. So the master said Septu star system is ruled by the feminine, and he said Saha star system is ruled by the masculine of our ancestors. So you have to be doing the spiritual work. He says right here, your etheric parents can only descend to a certain level themselves. If you have not raised enough spiritual or level of vibration, they cannot carry you. In ancient Magma in Egypt, we were always doing rituals that constantly kept you properly aligned with the tone of A, in tune with the planet and nature on the tone of F, and the heavenly bodies above, or the cosmos in the tone of C. Okay, and so when you're doing spiritual work, you're raising your vibration. Fasting, that's key, family. Fasting, because every time you eat, in order to burn the food, you're using spirit energy to burn the food. So if you fast, you won't waste that spirit energy, and it'll renew your cells. That's why they say people who fast a lot, they actually don't age as fast, because their cells are being renewed. So you're using spirit energy to restore your cells. But every time you eat, your body has to focus on burning the food, especially with the stuff we eat. You know, for us in America, with the toxic poison diet they feed us. So let's keep going. So where are we at? So he says, question, why is anger the most devastating emotion? Of all the emotional barriers, the most devastating is anger. Anger is the greatest enemy of peace, for it is the most negative. It is a modification of lust. For when one's desires are not gratified, one becomes angry. The mind then becomes confused, memory and understanding is lost, and things are said and done without awareness or control. Anger does great danger to one's own physical and psychic bodies, as well as those of others. Your whole nervous system is shattered by one fit of anger. That's important. Your nervous system, family, the nervous system, right? So as the master teacher just explained, anger severs your connection. Your soul force is moving through your nervous system. I repeat, your soul force is moving through your nervous system. And the nervous system is from the brain all the way down the spine to your buttocks. So, in fact, if we go to this scroll right here, the 9 principles of a human being. Where are we at? On page 26. So you can see this book. This is the 9 principles in a human being by the master teacher. Okay. And so here we have 9 energy centers. You have what is known as your endocrine glands in the body. Take the time out. There's some good YouTube channels that talks about the endocrine glands. It's important if you're doing spiritual work to become familiar with the endocrine glands in the physical body. If you're doing spiritual work, it's important to become familiar with the endocrine glands in the physical body. It's what allows your body to even function, those endocrine glands, okay? And those are the glands that harness spirit energy into those glands. And so, as you can see here, as Nagado, melanated people, we have 9 energy centers, right? At the bottom, the base is the cardinal. We call it the Sitek, which is the base, where it says your soul force here. Your soul equals your emotions. It's at the base of the spine. That's why I say you have to raise. You got to invert your heart center and move it up from the base all the way back to your crown, to the head. So he has another diagram that shows these centers. Okay, so these centers are down at the base and they go up the body. So as you are raising your energy centers by doing, as you're raising these energy centers, it increases your intelligence. Now it's moving along your spine. Moving along your spine, your spinal system. This is in the Science of Healing book. The spinal system, you have what is known as the sympathetic nervous system, and you have the cerebral spinal nervous system. The two. The cerebral spinal nervous system is the bone, okay, and the sympathetic spinal system lies outside the bone. It's a network of energy circuits it's parallel in your spine. If you're doing spiritual work, you'll feel the energy, because it's a feminine energy center that releases. The feminine releases energy. The masculine, which is the cerebral spinal system, harnesses energy. And I have to repeat a lot of this stuff. You may not be familiar with it. That's okay. I always tell you guys, take your time, listen to these discussions more than once. Also, listen to I told you before, this is really a part 2 of this discussion. So it's a little bit more detail, right? Listen to part 1 that we did 4 years ago. So for those who didn't hear that, listen to part 1 as well as this one. Take your time. All of this will make sense as you're taking your time and studying. Let me read here. This is in the Science of Healing book the master put out. The nervous system is a communication and control network of the body. Okay. Through electrochemical impulses, it senses, sorts, and stores and uses messages that control your bodily functions and processes. It is also responsible for thought. So your consciousness is moving through the nervous system, fine, and tells what to do, what the body to do. In order to move the body, the signal comes from the brain and goes along your spine so you can move your body. So your consciousness is moving through your spine. So you have your normal consciousness. Remember, I told y'all before, you have 3 levels of consciousness. So you have your normal level consciousness moving. You have your subconscious moving through the spine. Your subconscious control all of your involuntary systems of the body. I repeat, your subconscious controls all of the involuntary systems of your body, like your heart rate, your blood flow, your circulatory system, your respiratory system. All of this is being controlled by your what? Subconscious. That's why once you restore yourself and you resurrect, you unify all of your conscious essence of yourself, and you have total control over your body. Your ancestors used to have total control over every cell in their body. That's why they say the human being is only using what? 7% of their brain. Why? Because everything else is being controlled by the subconscious. Consciously, you're only using a small fraction. In fact, because of the Mukasu understanding this science, that's why their marketing advertisements are geared towards brainwashing or conditioning our subconscious mind. That's why we have behavior patterns and we don't even realize why we do what we do, because they've been programming our subconscious. Especially now with this new technology, with the TVs, they can put signals in the TVs, these plasma TVs, that your conscious mind can't pick up, but your subconscious does. So it's important to understand that, family. So let's go back to science. What is spirit and soul? Where we at? Question. So you have what is meant by the spirit? Speaks to the spiritual plane, also called the astral plane, as well as other planes. This raises a question: what is a plane? The most common mistake is imagining planes as layers lying one above the other in space. This is incorrect. Everything is vibration. That's key, family. Everything is vibration, which manifests itself in different moods and schemes, right? The best way to express, excuse me, the best way to express a vibration is a mood. So planes are moods and schemes of vibration existent in very unique and unified forms and may be likened to varying degrees of temperature, such as extremely low to extremely high. So we exist in these different planes or schemes, family. That's very important for you to acknowledge that where you're sitting right now, wherever you are right now, all around you, everything is vibrating. In the other realms, like we're in a material realm, we're connected to the next plane, which is the plane of force. Okay, your senses are not picking them up because of the fact that no one was taught how to develop their senses, their spiritual awareness to be able to pick up these other vibrations. This is the problem with humans. Humans are locked to the third density vibration and not in tune with the other realms or planes right in front of us. That's why I always do the Doctor Strange movie or the Avengers, right? Talks about it. I show that clip all the time. You have to acknowledge you have a physical body, you have a spiritual body. You have a physical body, you have a spirit. You have to acknowledge that. I don't know how many times I want to keep talking about it until we get it. Those who know better do better, right? Those who know better do better. Just because you've been taught about this information, if we're not applying it, then we obviously don't comprehend it. And we haven't been, the master's been telling us for 60 some odd years, and we haven't put this stuff into practicality yet. So we have to keep talking about this so it dominates your consciousness, so that you can start applying and putting this into practice. You have to become aware of your surroundings, that everything is vibration, and you have to tap into it. But remember, the lifestyle we live, the food, the music, all this stuff, it blocks it because they're producing frequencies that literally it camouflages the other realms. You can't sense the other realms because of the music we listen to, the food we eat, the movies we watch, all of the stuff that occupies our mind in our day-to-day life. So you have to take time out each and every day to put time in for your own spiritual development. It's a must. If you don't want to be trapped down here, if you want true liberation from the Mukasu controlling us the way they do, So he says that the natural mood of vibration ranges from very high and fast to very low and slow, and are distinct and interesting, that one cannot determine where one plane begins and the other ends. Nothing in existence rests. Every sense Nagato has vibrates, and everything you see, hear, or touch vibrates. Order. Your soul is what enables you to tune into these vibrations of the universe. Nagato vibrates on the alpha wavelength. It is the middle C note in music of the body. So it's our soul that connects us. Your soul, remember I said your soul is your motion force. Your soul is your motion force. If you're allowing your environment to control your emotions, then you're now disconnected from being in tune with the energies around yourself. That's why they keep us preoccupied, family. That's why they constantly keep us preoccupied, doing stuff so that you don't have the time, or you don't take the time, or you don't realize you have to take the time to use your soul force to tune yourself in to the energies that's all around you. So if we go back to, let's go back to the again, to the Doctor Strange, right? So when you look at the Doctor Strange, let's put that on.
I'd be careful going that way. We just had the floors waxed.
I'm looking for Dr. Strange.
You're about 5 years too early. Stephen Strange is currently performing surgery about 20 blocks that way. What do you want from him?
That, actually.
Ah! I'm afraid not.
Sorry, but I wasn't asking.
You don't want to do this.
You're right, I don't, but I need that stone and I don't have time to debate it.
So as I've showed this many times, right? So he has his physical body, spiritual body, physical body, spiritual body separated. Now his spiritual body, right, it's in the plane of force. Now because she's a spiritual master, she can see him because her third eye is open. She can see him. That's what when I played that the master teacher, and when this lecture started, right, I played that clip from the master teacher talking to one of the students, saying he can see your spirit moving out of your body because the master teacher's third eye is open, so he can see it. You all have the same abilities, all of us do, but we haven't developed ourselves to be able to use these abilities. We have to become in tune with our own spiritual nature. That's the goal. It's real. It's very real. But you have to realize you have a physical body, spiritual body, physical body, spiritual body. Your soul is the key. So let's keep going. Where are we at? Hold on. Let's see. 45. So let's go to page where we at. So now let's see. So here's the thing. Question. Is it possible to visualize the lower subplanes, which is like the plane of force, where the Doctor Strange, the master, just knocked the Incredible Hulk out of they separated his spirit from his physical body, right? So now he's on a plane of force, and that's the lower plane. So the question is, the master's asking, is it possible to visualize the lower subplanes? In order to visualize the lower subplanes of the spiritual world, you must maintain a positive mental state, which will allow you to act as a barrier through which these influences cannot penetrate. Your first impression is that the material world is still around you with all its scenery plainly visible. That's what you see. The Incredible Hulk, he's able to see the material world all around them. Okay? Now, normal people would not be able to see him or you if you're able to go out of body like that. Normally, people don't see you. Okay? Unless someone is a master and their third eye is open, they can see you. So now, says, so your first impression is that the material world is still around you with all its scenery plainly visible. As you look, you will find that there seems to be a peculiar veil between those scenes and the plane upon which his parent seems to have a peculiar appearance of resistance, solidity, as you realize that it is a barrier to the passage into the mental plane. Okay? It's important to understand when you move into that realm, okay, it's vibrating at a higher rate than the material realm that we're on now. But it's real. It's all around us. And we have to become in tune and aware of this reality. That's the goal. And only you can prove it to yourself. Okay? Only you can prove it to yourself that this is real if you put in the work. The goal is putting in the work. And the only way to do that is you have to acknowledge that you have a spirit, and you have to acknowledge you have a soul force. And you have to become aware and in tune of these energies moving through your own body. And so, yes, the chanting is important, right? The 9 a.m., we're supposed to chant. 3 p.m., we chant. And 9 p.m., we're supposed to chant. And it's important to do it at those times. If we all are doing it because we line up, we connect with each other etherically. We're connecting when we do it like that. It strengthens it if you're consistent on a day-to-day basis. So all of that, is important for our own spiritual work. Because we become quantumly entangled. That's the key right there. Quantum entanglement. Here. So here the master's talking about physical beings, right? Vibrate on a physical plane called Nasut. Right? This is the physical plane that in Arabic they call it Nasut, the plane of human beings. And this realm consists of solid, liquid, and gas, right? Now, as a physical being have a spirit in it. Now, the spirit in you descended down from the etheric. The physical you descended down into a physical body. Okay, so we all of us have an etheric body, but when we become human, we drop down. That etheric body takes on these other layers, such as your soul, your spirit, and then eventually your physical body. So now, etheric beings travel down and materialize into the body. Supreme beings are living in the realm of Malakut, as it is called in Arabic, right? Which is from the fourth plane and up. Malakut is a pathway that spiritual beings come into. Spiritual beings can travel. Now, extraterrestrials vibrate on this realm and start going up higher, right? So all these ETs, so-called extraterrestrials, they're all coming from the fourth plane or the fourth density and up. depending on, you know, what kind of beings they are and what, you know, what their nature is. All right, so that's important to understand. You know, obviously we talked about this before, but now let's move on from here and go to another page in this book to give us more details. So on page 126, let's see. All right. So question, is this light the same thing as your aura? So we're talking about the aura. Answer, there are two currents of energy that flow through us, creating a magnetic field called your aura, that are part of the Earth magnetic field in which it moves independently. So our energy field, or our auric field, or you know, auric field, however you want to say it, it's in tune with the planet Earth, right? Nagato are in tune with the planet Earth, okay? Because we're made of the same material as the planet Earth. The planet Earth is made of 9 ether. We're also made of 9 ether. So we have the same energy cycle, which makes us unique. That's on a whole nother level. And important to know that. Now, these fields are composed of negative and positive energies or forces. It is called your auric egg. Now, Nagato's aura contains our spirit, our soul, and our energy aura vibrating outward. Like, they have now sensitive equipment that can actually measure this. So the aura is the life force of the body, maybe looked upon as the atmosphere of the body because it reflects the real vital mood, the mental mood, the health and character, right? So these different layers or moods are reflected in color, which may appear cloud-like or bright and clear according to the mood it is reflecting. Now, everyone is not able to see the aura. Only those who are highly spiritual can see someone's aura. All right. So, and it has different colors. I'm not going to go into that. The colors have representations. We cover that another time, though. So, okay. So, question: what is the difference between spirit and soul? Answer: spirit and soul can be likened to an egg. When the egg is first laid, it is soft. But when the oxygen hits it, it hardens. Thus, you have the formation of the spirit, soul, and the mind. Now, the spirit is nothing but the self, and the soul is nothing but the essence of you. In order to understand the difference between the spirit and soul, you must understand how Nagato was created. First of all, you are a combination of different parts of the universe. It is your intellect that is divine. Now, this is key. Your intellect, your soul is connected to your intellect. Okay? It's very important you understand that. Your body is what goes back to the earth and becomes fertilizer. Your body is just a composition of the evolutionary process when they relocated the cells from different galaxies to live and germinate on Earth. Now, the body was formed from the right conditions that create bacteria. Okay, so now he's talking about the as once these supreme beings are Anunnaki mixed in with humans. Humans, the thyroid gland the master taught us about prior to 6,000 years ago, that kept us in tune with the spiritual world. Now we don't have that gland operating anymore. This is why we're not in tune with these realities that's all around us, because the gland was deactivated, so to speak. Although we have it spiritually, we just don't have it physically. That's why you can, if you develop yourself spiritually, you can restore all your abilities. That's the key. But let's keep going. So before this, man was not worth being mentioned until these beings from Risk got involved after the crash. It wasn't until after man became a Homo sapien did they become in the image and after the likeness of these supreme beings. Now you all have the intelligence but no information because you lost your ability to have random access to them when your barytheric gland was removed, right? And so again, humans are very intelligent, but they don't have any real knowledge about existence, about nature, blah blah blah. That's why the European is putting all this energy into science, trying to figure out nature and the forces of nature. Of course, every time they get knowledge, they use it for evil because they're diabolical. But we used to understand all of these forces and energies. That's how we were able to build the pyramids and the great monuments that our ancestors built, because we knew these sciences of nature. That's what the wisdom of Tahuti teaches, how to connect with these forces. And we lost all this knowledge, and we have to restore it. But you have to restore your intellect, which is your soul force. This is where we're getting to. So question, what is the spirit and soul in relation to Nagato? The spirit is a shell for the soul, from which the emotional body and the ability to respond emotionally stems. Now, the spirit is the life body. The soul is the emotional body that makes Nagato responsible and our spirit houses our soul. You need to get that. And our physical body houses our spirit. So we're like in layers. Okay? Each one vibrating at a different rate. Your physical body vibrates at a rate. Your spiritual body vibrates at a rate. Your soul body vibrates at a rate. And you have your ether body vibrates at a rate. Your ether body vibrates the highest. That's the ultimate goal, to transform ourselves back to Etherians. But you first have to get into with your physical body, which means start taking care of your body, which then you can get into with your spiritual body, which then you can get in tune with your soul body, soul force, and then you can get in tune with your ether body. That's the process of unifying your consciousness that's been divided from your conscious mind, your subconscious, to your superconscious. Again, we've talked about this in other discussions, but if you have questions, always ask. So let's keep going. So it says the divine body and mentality of a person is the soul. I repeat that. Your divine body and mentality of the divine consciousness, which is a force, an actual energy force. So when you lose your consciousness, you lose your soul. When you lose your conscious, your knowledge of self, your knowledge of what you are, you lose. That means you've lost your soul force. So when you lose your mind, you lose your soul. You lose your mind, you lose your soul. Yeah, you get it? Your soul is your divine consciousness. And it's moving this energy. What did I say your mind is moving through? I told you earlier, the mind, where in the body is the mind moving through? The spinal column, the sympathetic nervous system, and the cerebral spinal nervous system. That is moving. Consciousness is moving through that part of the body, through the spine. This is why we're not in tune with our body the way our ancestors used to be, because our consciousness got fractured when we lost the barytheric gland. So prior to that, we was in control of all of the energies or elements of our own physical body. We was in tune with everything. The master said we used to be ambidextrous. We could write with both sides of our bodies, right? Use both sides of our bodies equally, because our brains, we were using both sides of our brains equally. So when you lose your soul, you lose your consciousness. You lose your divine mind of who and what you are. So I repeat, the divine body and mentality of a person is the soul. Your soul, if you do not sell it to the devil, lives on. You need your soul to get to the next round. You hear that? But our people sold their soul for what? Making money. That's what we're doing, unfortunately. We're selling our soul for all kinds of stuff. We have no interest in knowing anything about our own spiritual nature. Our people have zero interest about learning about their own spiritual nature. So they're surrendering their own soul. You need your soul. Let's keep going. We're on page 132. For those who don't know, we're reading the book, What is Spirit and Soul? The Master Teacher put this book out back in 2001. He's been writing. This is like the third, fourth edition. The first one I told you was back in the 1970s, like 72, 73, when he was teaching this. We still haven't been able to figure this out. Let's keep going. Your self is made up of three things. You have the soul, the spirit, and the body. Now, the spirit, which is the nefs, is the skin of the soul. Now, if this is kept healthy by what? Doing spiritual work. If not, it wears away, and you're left with only the soul, which goes back into the wind. The soul is your etheric body or essence that connects the mind or mental flow to the spiritual world. Once that mental flow is cut, then the etheric world is cut off. So once you're not in tune with your own spiritual nature, you're cut off from the etheric world, which is mean you cut off from your ancestors. That's why Black people on the planet have no connection to their own spiritual ancestors anymore, who live on the higher dimensions. Because when you lose your soul, you lose your mind, you lose your consciousness of who you are. That's what makes the Master Teacher what? So important. The Savior for this day and time. He came to restore your divine consciousness, your divine mind, which restores your soul. Then you can start doing spiritual work, and that automatically reconnects you with the Etherians. They see you, they see your energy when you're doing spiritual work. It literally is like a signal to them. But how many of our people are fasting? How many of our people are doing the correct prayers in the right language? How many of our people are chanting in the right language, in the right tones? How many of our people have a consciousness where they're thinking about Blackness? They're thinking about their grandmothers, their great-grandmothers, their great-great-grandfathers, or they're calling on some white person named Jesus, or they're praying to Buddha, or they're praying to Shiva. Our people are praying to everything but themselves. And they're cut off from their ancestors because of it. Each race had their own energy signature. Each race has their own frequency. You can't contact another race and think you're going to be connected. It doesn't work that way. You got to contact your race, your bloodline, your grandmother, your great-grandmother. They're operating you have the masters you can contact, or you have your great-grandmothers you can contact. Your great-grandmothers is easy to contact. They're communicating. The Master explains they're communicating to us all the time, but we don't hear them because of all of the lifestyle distractions. Question: what is the etheric body? Answer: ether is a combination of all existing gases of nature. Your etheric body is energy, and it is equivalent to what you call spiritual beings. You have an electrical field that constantly comes into your body. The elders cannot see you if your light is dim. I repeat, the elders, the masters cannot see you if your light is dim. They don't see your physical body. They're not looking at your physical body. They're looking at your spirit body. Is it charging up? Are you charging it by doing spiritual work? If you're not doing any of that, they can't perceive you. Powerful and spiritually as an etheric being, you will live on prana, or Chinese say chi. That's what they feed off of. The natharu. They feed off of sachem. They're not eating hamburgers. They're not eating Philly cheesesteaks or pizza. Like the Ninja Turtles who like pizza. They're not eating pizza up in there. They literally feed off of life force energy that sustains them. Once you transform back to an etheric being, a pure energy being, where you can go in and out of your physical body, you incarnate in and out of your physical body. We're supposed to be able to leave our physical bodies at will, and we can't do it. We don't know how to do it. we forgot how to do it. But less, you have people who do know how to go out of body. Those are people who, they're fortunate genetically, naturally do it. A lot of people naturally do it. And those who've been doing spiritual work can do it. It can be done. He says here, your physical body is plaguing your soul. Nagato does what Nagato does is feed the bacteria as opposed to feeding the soul. When you feed the physical body, you do so by an improper diet. You are doing more for the physical body and less for your soul. When you neglect this, you strengthen the physical body. Thus, the spiritual body has no growth. If you overindulge by too much eating and physical desires, your body, and abuse your spiritual body. You become attached to the physical plane. The Etherians will overlook you because they are looking for your ether, whether you will be able to go to the next level. When you were born into this world, doctors were here to help bring you in. Likewise, see that? You see that? This is what makes the master teacher, the savior for this day and time. This is salvation information. Who else is teaching this? And like I said, this scroll came out back in 2001. So it's over 2 decades old already. Question. So if you are an emotional person, how will that affect your soul? The soul is also the emotional body. So if you have a good emotional body, you feed your spirit and you'll have a good spirit. Negativity, bad thoughts, depression, etc. makes you spiritually sick, and your soul is cut off from the etheric world to physical. You must realize that your physical self is not the real you. The real you is inside. The soul is the real you. You hear that, family? Soul is the real you. So let's go here. Let's see where we at. Then go to another scroll. This is very important. This is actual facts number 27. Actual facts, or actual fact, number 27. I always say with the S. I don't know why. Actual fact. Number 27. Let's see, page 11. This is a very important key right here. I talked about in the first lecture we did on spirit and soul. I talked about your melanin. Your melanin is connected to your soul. Your melanin is connected to your soul. That's extremely important to understand melanin. Okay, because your soul force is a pure 9 ether force, and your melanin is what charges it and keeps it powerful moving through the body. But the problem is our melanin has become toxic because of the lifestyle we live. So our melanin is not activated the way it needs to be, and this is why we can't use our own spiritual powers. We have to reactivate our melanin to detoxify it. One of the biggest things that toxifies the melanin is sugar, and they put sugar in everything. So now this is on actual facts number 27. The master teacher says this. Let's see, I'm on page 9. He's talking paragraph where we start from. Paragraph 61, and it is the Kabat Center of what is involved in the initiation of dreams. He's talking about inside the brain, the locus coeruleus, called the black dot, right? This is a very key point in our brain, the source of melanin production in the brain. The time when we actually seek our unconscious content, when we're in the dream realm. The dream world is the reality realm. The waking world is the illusionary world. The dream world is the reality, because that's the gateway to get you to the fourth density. That's the real reality, going up to the higher realms. When you're in the dream realm, you're in the plane of force. You're moving closer to reality, as opposed to what we think reality is down here in this low vibrational realm of so much suffering, pain, death down here. This is the realm of chaos that we're on, third density, family. So let's keep going. Now, it says, this does not mean that others and animals do not dream. My beloved Corrado, children of the black race of Wunawa, the absence of melanin is directly associated with the malfunctioning of the central nervous system. You heard that? Going back to the spine, the absence of melanin is directly associated with the malfunctioning of the central nervous system. This is why the lighter the person, the more spasmodic or paralysis. And this is why the mukasu is so stiff and rigid, with limited movement of body fluency, and suffer so, as well as lack of rhythm and the ability to dance, to a rhythm. Melanin links to your ba, your soul. They lack soul even in their music. Okay, and so they don't have the soul force. We have the soul force. Our melanin is linked to our soul force. It's what keeps our soul force charged and powerful, the melanin. But our melanin is not functioning the way it needs to function. That's why they don't tell you about melanin. They hide that. They don't tell you how important melanin is. So let's get into that. Let's get into how important is melanin. Okay, how important is melanin? The master teacher wrote a book. This one came out back in 96. Book on melanin. Where we at? Page 11. Right? This right here, Melanite Children. This came out like in 1996. Very powerful book on this topic. Melanin is key to your soul. So he says here, question, why is melanin important? Answer, melanin is important because it is the most primitive and universal pigment in living organisms. Melanin is produced in the pineal gland. The pineal gland is in our brain, is in the dead in the center of the middle of the brain. So the pineal gland is what's producing the melanin. Okay, abundantly found in primitive organisms such as fungi, as well as advanced primates. Furthermore, within each living organism, melanin appears to be located in major functional sites. For example, in vertebrates, melanin is not only present in the skin, eyes, ears, and central nervous system. Melanin is in your central nervous system, family, and the diffuse narrow descendant loci, among other things that is in the brain. I have to look that up. It can be found. Melanin can be found in the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, the thymus gland, the parathyroid gland, the adrenal glands, the cataract body, and the barythroid gland. Right? That's the endocrine system. That's what opens up your chakras, what we call your arushat, right? All of those glands, they're all coated with melanin. They're all coated with melanin. So when you purify your melanin and you're doing spiritual work, that's what turns all those glands on, right? And activates, and that's how you open your third eye. That's how you open your third eye, and then your soul has been restored. You now can connect with your oversoul, your etheric counterpart to yourself. So you have to take, I tell you, take the time out, watch a YouTube on endocrine glands, study the endocrine glands. You have to know your body. If you want to do spiritual work, you have to understand your own physical body. You have to become a master of yourself. Regardless of what color your skin appears to be, all genes in all creatures on this planet are black because they are all coated with melanin. You can't live without melanin. Melanin, the whole planet is full of melanin. The pigment of the planet, that's where all the color comes from. It's all melanin, family. Chlorophyll is all the same stuff. Because it's what connects you to the sun, S-U-N, the sun. That's the key. Our soul, remember I've said this many times before, your soul comes from the sun. So soul is a Latin word. Soul, S-O-L, it means the sun. Woolly hair, melanated people come from the sun. Our spirit essence, our non-ether, we're children of the sun. We grew with the universe. We're all of the suns. That's why in our ancient culture, everything was about the sun, acknowledging the power of the sun that sustains all life on earth. I hope we get this, family. I hope we all getting this. You know? This is all key. I'm an actual fact, the proof. Proof by way of Panabab, Yan, and Nan, right? On page 6. In the beginning were the sons, and the sons were within natural nature, Fatar Yao Fatar. And the sons are natural nature. The sons are the true Kakabat stars upon the throttle. the overseers, who grew absolute natural nature from an up omniverse, all, into universe, the all, from Pa'ut to Pa-Pa'ut. So in the beginning were the sons, family. All that melanin it comes from the sun. It's the manifestation of the sun. That's all melanin is. It's the physical manifestation of the sun, the melanin. That's why we're coated in the garden of walking balls of melanin. You know? And that's what sustains your soul, your sun energy, your solar energy, your soul force. Right? The master teacher explains that. Now I'm explaining to you the importance of melanin. Question, is there only one type of melanin? Answer, no. You have brain melanin, known as neuromelanin, and you have skin melanin. And so neuromelanin does not run parallel with skin melanin. Whether red, white, yellow, black, or brown, neuromelanin plays an important role in the functioning of the brain and nervous system. Here to go again, that nervous system, everything's moving through your spinal cord. Your spirit is moving through your blood. Question, what's so important about melanin? Answer, melanin controls all mental and physical body activities. Melanin is an extremely stable molecule and highly resistant to digestion by most acids and bases. And is one of the hardest molecules to ever be analyzed. If you do not purify your melanin molecule, you will not heal your body of disease. Our melanins become toxic because of our lifestyle, and that's what you know how we our melanin, right, which it absorbs energy. Okay, it's what charges our body and allow our spirit force, our nine ether soul force, to function through our bodies effectively. That's what gives us our power. We have dormant power, but we're not able to use it because our body, our genetics been all messed up because we've been mixing our genetics, and we don't, these are things we was never supposed to do, mix our blood. It takes away our power. So you have to develop yourself spiritually so you can renew your genetics. That's why the master teacher put out the other scroll, Actual Facts number 46, Intelligent Design, Divine Design, Apply to Aliens. And he taught us about what? Epigenetics. You have the ability to correct your genetics. Morphic resonance. You can shift and restore your genetics by resonancies, being able to put your body in a certain tone. That's why he was telling us you have to chant. You have to chant certain tones, and it will activate these centers in you. It's all right here. The master's been telling us for eons, but we're now getting smarter. We can begin to comprehend. It's taking us so long, man, to comprehend this. That's the sad part. I mean, but it is what it is. We're getting it now. We're getting it now because I didn't comprehend none of this when these books came out in the 90s. And honestly, because I started doing this YouTube stuff within the last 9 years, my awareness and comprehension of the doctrine has increased tenfold, honestly. Just talking about it. And all these discussions and doing the research I've been doing, it increases your knowledge and awareness. And so obviously my goal is to share all of this knowledge with you all. Let's see where. Question: can anything besides ultraviolet radiation affect your melanin? Answer: yes, your melanin can become toxic. Eating improper foods or overeating overloads your body as well. Then your connection is blocked, and the sun's energy cannot reach the melanin. Thus, disease manifests. Melanin is deranged only when it becomes toxic. Any individual who might have toxic melanin will act in a very similar manner. That which is primitive, animalistic, and barbaric. Melanin is a civilizing chemical when it is not toxic. It has physical properties and personality traits which distinguish it from others. That's why your body is dedicated to making melanin. Question: is there anything that can help if my melanin is toxic? Answer: yes. Vitamin B keeps melanin clean. It says, don't ask me how to eat because you don't listen anyway. That's why I put out the family guide, he said. Melanin is like a superconductor or like a battery in a car. It always stays charged when it is exposed to things such as light, sound, color, and sunlight. It will absorb it to the point where the melanin will actually absorb the additional energy and recharge itself to a brand new level. Melanin also has an odor. It has a sweet smell when it's purified. So the key here, family, is understand that melanin is what reconnects us with nature. That's what the living culture did. Disconnected us from nature. That's why we chaotic today. Now melanin is toxified. That's why we look at it. You just look at us. You see how chaotic we are. It's really bad. It's really bad. But let's keep going. Question: I understand my responsibility as a Nagato. However, ultimately, what is the difference between Nagato who have melanin or melanin recessive? Answer: this gift of melanin is a refined chemical, is located in the body and in the environment. What's unique is the Mukasu only use visible spectrum because they don't process light or sound within their bodies. So because they're melanin recessive, like all inside our bodies are coated with melanin, like I was telling you about the endocrine glands. Okay, so it allows us to activate our chakras, right? What we call arusha. Anyone who wants to know what we call chakras is arusha. I heard the brothers in London, some brother was asking them about what did we call it in our language. Is arusha or arush, the master said, which means it just means energy centers. But so they can't do that. Their bodies can't process the energy levels that we can process because of the fact that we're not ether. That's one. And the melanin is what, sustains our energy. And so no one else has those abilities, those energy abilities we have. And you see it play out in athletics, right? When you watch us athletically, or you watch the tones we do in music or the way we dance, you obviously can see we have a different energy center and a different ability when it comes to energy. And all life is energy. Everything in life is about energy. How you think the Mukasu controls the planet? He's using energy. Technology, it's all about energy. They're using artificial energy, right, with computers to do everything they're doing, because computers are running everything today. They're warships, they're smart bombs, All these cell phones, all their technology is all about energy. But as woolly haired melanated people, we have the highest form of energy as non-ether beings. We're unbelievable powerful. We just don't know it because we don't know anything about our own physical bodies. That's what we're taking the time out to educate us about. So it says here, on the planet Earth, or on a planet called Earth, the solid form of light is melanin. Melanin is the physical manifestation of light. I read this before in other lectures. Melanin is a physical manifestation of light, family. It says melanin, whose melanin has the ability to withstand heat up to 1250 degrees Fahrenheit. Think about that. What do we usually cook at in the oven? We usually cook at what, like 350 degrees temperature to 450 degrees? That's what we use the oven for. Well, melanin can sustain itself up to 1250 degrees. And that's all coded throughout our bodies. That's why the master said we can transform ourselves back into Etherians, pure energy beings. Your body is committed itself to creating melanin so you can survive. The melanin in your body is like a conductor or battery, meaning it's always partially charged. When you're around things like sound, light, sunlight, or colors, the melanin will absorb the additional energy and recharge itself, taking your body to a new level. Family, that's why we belong in the sun. We're around all this artificial light is not good for us. We need to be around natural light. That's key. All this is about restoring your soul. People with melanin are walking radios, and the very dark-skinned people are very sensitive to different types of radio frequencies or thought patterns that are in the environment. So you see that the more melanin you have, the masters are transmitting. The master teacher talked about that. The Natharu are sending signals out. We're supposed to be able to pick up those signals. The problem is we're not vibrating at a certain frequency. We're still at a very low frequency. Wait, let's see. Let's go to actual facts number. Where are we at? Number 22. Actual fact number 22. We're actual fact number 22. Well, 18 plus 18, 1 equals 37. 82. Right here, in the very end of this particular scroll. The very end. The master teacher on page 83 of this scroll, he says right here, melanin also conducts electrical fields. High electrical conductivity in melanin, it can achieve a conductivity of 1 ohm. Panatharu reaches out to you, and the lower fields, your Salafu ancestors of your genes call with it. If you're producing a low frequency energy, you can connect with your your ancestors and your bloodline, right? You don't have to produce that much energy to communicate with them. If you want to communicate with the Natharu, that's why you have to detoxify your melanin. Your body has to generate a whole lot more energy to connect with Panatharu. And then you can communicate with them. This is all about your soul. Your soul is what allows you to communicate with them, because the soul is a very powerful energy force. Remember, your soul is moving through your emotions. If you're in control of your emotions, then you can use your soul force to make contact. But they keep us emotionally unstable, and they do that through desire. So we're draining our emotional power, our soul power, through our desires. That's the key. And that's how they've been tricking us. So you have to understand how we've been misled about our own nature. You have these abilities. We all should be working together. It makes it easy if we're working together. That's why I said, what are we looking for? True Nawapian. True Nawapians are really into the culture. They're about it. They're about it, but the key is your heart center. Are you a good person? That's what it boils down to. It's why it goes back to I talk about our core cultural principles of Wu-Sabat. The core cultural principles of Wu-Sabat. Right? What are the goals? The 3 goals. Raise the self. That's what we're talking about. Raising yourself, restoring yourself spiritually. Number 2, fight Leviathan. So we're battling Leviathan. The sick, and Leviathan is based on what? Six primary attributes. Ignorance. These are the spirit forces. These negative spirit forces creates ignorance in your consciousness. That produces fear. From fear produces ego. From ego, that's where it accentuates the lust and the desires. Your ego, your lust and desires. From lust and desire, that's where it produces lies and deceptions. Why? Because people will lie, cheat, and steal to feed their desires. So it's all Trump and them are doing. Lying and to feed their desires for control and power. They'll lie all day. And when someone is lying, what does that create? People lie to that. It creates anger. And with anger comes bloodshed. And that's why we in a world of chaos. That's how you know 60 the beings are running everything. Because there's death and suffering everywhere. And that's due to these lower forces. Because they don't understand how people have lost knowledge of Leviathan. In ancient Kemet, the master told it we call it Apophis, or we said Amam. Ancient Sumeria, the spirit force was what they called it Kingu. They're just lower 6th ether forces that clouds the mind and disconnects you from the forces of nature. To be in harmony with Ma'at, the harmonic forces of nature. So our culture, our original culture was always about being in tune with Ma'at, because Ma'at was our society was based on Ma'at, not capitalism, not communism, not socialism, not fascism, not Marxism. We weren't Republicans, we weren't Democrats, we weren't none of those ridiculousness. It was all based on Ma'at. All family, why don't you just go to Google? Go to Google, right? And type in what was the culture in ancient Egypt. Let's see what Google says. What was the culture in ancient Egypt? Ancient Egyptian culture was a complex polytheistic society centered around the Nile Valley, the Nile River, with life guided by the concept of stability and harmony under the divine rule of the pharaohs. So they said the religious beliefs, they put on the religion, polytheism, afterlife, and Ma'at. Those are the three things. So polytheism, they talk about the Nathar because they don't acknowledge or understand that the Nathar was a composite of the creative force, which is Pa'ut. So they'll just say it was based on polytheism, right? Then they say the afterlife, everything about Egyptian culture was about resurrection. You was either trying to get to Sahu or Saha, Orion, or Septu, right? So the whole culture is based around spiritual development. We've lost that knowledge. And then Ma'at. That's what the society was based on. This is what we have to remember. And keep in mind, ancient Kush, that ancient Kushite culture, that the Egyptian culture comes out of ancient Kush culture. Ancient Kushite culture was based on those same principles of Ma'at. This is how you fix yourself, by maintaining balance, right? Everything is about balance. You have to put your body back into a balance, and the body will then function effectively. We've been taken off balance because of the behavior, and so our body's out of whack. This is what the issue is. So our original culture was all based on that, being in harmony, connecting. When they say polytheism, Nathar just meant the forces of nature. That we were all in tune with the forces of nature. That's what Nathar is. That's where they even get the word nature from. And we've talked about this before. You all know this. So that's why I said, whenever I start all my discussions, it's going back and setting up our society based on Ma'at. That's how we did it. Not based on these political systems that they set up on a world, and all it does is create chaos. And they monetize the planet Earth. And you heard me say many times, monetize the Earth. That doesn't make any sense. All of the resources of Earth belong to all of the species of Earth in your respective environment. So woolly hair melanated people, Africa is our land for us. Only us. Africa for the Africans. The Europeans go back to Europe. Asians in Asia. And right now, the Americas basically just make the Americas the land of the mulattoes, all the mixed bloods in America. That's how we really need to set the planet back up. Well, we have to get, if we want harmony, we got to get back to order, balance, where we're in tune with the forces within yourself, and you're in tune with the environment you live in. You're in harmony with your environment. You're not polluting and destroying your own environment, which is what the European cultures are doing. They're destroying the earth, and our people are following right behind them, doing it. This is why the continent is in absolute chaos, because they've lost their mind, because they've lost their culture. You lose your mind, you lose your soul. You lose your mind, you lose your soul. Remember, your soul is your divine consciousness. It connects you with nature. Remember that. Your spirit is your life force. It sustains your body. Your spirit is your life force. It sustains your body. Your soul is your emotional force. It's what it connects you to nature. Or you can use your soul to feed your desires. Which one will you do? continue to use your soul to feed your desires, or start using your soul, your emotions, to feed your connection to nature? As you see, our people lost their soul. They don't have their soul no more, because your soul is your divine mind. When you lose knowledge of yourself, of who and what you are, and you stop living according to your nature, your own genetics, you're cut off from your ancestors. Because you're not. What did the master say? Your ancestors see your energy. If you're not doing anything to develop your energy, they can't see you. You're cut off from them, which means you lost your soul. That's what this whole discussion is designed to educate you. So I hope now, everyone has a good understanding of their soul force and how important it is, that it's all about your mind. What is this here? This is a part to that conscious being. Go to page, where we at? What is that? Page 8, paragraph 39. Part to that paragraph 39 says this: to lose your mind, to be out of your own akal mind, in another mindset, working for them, killing for them, sleeping and mixing with them, or trying to be accepted by them, is to lose your very soul. You hear that? I'll do it again. This is the Patadak conscious being, page 8, paragraph 39. To lose your mind, to be out of your own mind, in another mindset, working for them, right? Who do we work for? Working for the Mukasu, making him rich and powerful to oppress us. Think about that. We must be out of our minds. We work for our adversary to make them rich and more powerful so that they can continue to oppress us. Figure that out. We can't be in our right minds. So I repeat, to lose your akal, your mind, be out of your own mind, in another mindset, working for them, killing for them, sleeping and mixing with them, or trying to be accepted by them, is to lose your very ba, your soul, and any chance of a continued anach, life after this one. You're cut off from the higher realms when you surrendered your consciousness to another culture. How we get that? I hope we get that. Y'all get that, family? The key is your soul. Your soul is your key. What's that saying? What is it worth in the Bible? What can someone offer for your soul? To gain the whole world and lose your soul, is it worth it? You're going to be trapped down here in this realm? Actual facts. This is actual fact. Where we at? 36. Actual fact number 72. His story. Actual fact. This is number 73. Actual fact number 73. Where we at? Page 36. Paragraph, we're on page 34, paragraph 203. It says this: Musba'u, Sabians, you must know the Ba, the soul, from the Ka, the spirit. As the spirit is the person related to the Dayat, your desires of the body. So I say live by the Ba, the soul, and you will not gratify the desires of the Ka, the spirit. For the spirit lives by desires, that which is contrary to the Ba, the soul, and the Ba, soul, that which is contrary to the spirit. They are in conflict with each other, so that you do not do what that which is leads to your physical want. Yet, if you are led by the spirit person, you will not be living by Wu-Sabat, or its mental resurrection, or Sechem, power, which is Nupal. The acts of the Jawed, wicked, weak, Tim Fatar al Fatar, the unnatural nature is very obvious. Sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, and the Leben Shaddaz, the white magic or witchcraft or Wiccan, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of anger and rage, selfish ambition, dissension, factions and envy, intoxication and drunkenness, orgies, and the likes. I warn you, Musba'u, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the gift of Sayim, divine life, and be worthy to become a Nathar. Yet, Musba'u, the divine seed of the Ba, the soul, is Ashuk, divine love, joy, harmony, peace, order. See that order, justice, patience, that's Ma'at, family, kindness, goodness, devotion, gentleness, and self-control. Control of the spirit against such things as your desires, because desire is the road to suffering. Do not be deceived. Truth is truth, facts are facts, and faith is faith. Hope is hope. So seek truth, seek facts, and avoid faith. Avoid hope, and make your wish come true, because you reap what you sow. The one who sows to please their flesh, from that flesh will reap self-defeat and destruction, for the flesh is weak, yet the soul is strong in you who know the truth. We hear that, family? Keep in mind, remember, spirit is your personality. Spirit is your personality. If your personality keeps leading you towards these negative desires, this is what the master teacher is explaining. Live by the soul. The soul is what connects you to nature. Your spirit is using your soul to feed its desires. So it's draining your soul force. Because remember, your soul is emotion. Energy in motion, emotions, energy and motions. You can use it for good or you can use it for bad. You can use your emotions for good or you can use your emotions for bad. Right now, we've been taught to use our emotions for bad things. Why? Because we're influenced by our spirit, our personality, because we want to be liked and be a part of this culture. That's why they got into our bloodline. Right? Mix your blood, you transfer spirit forces. Mix your blood, you transfer spirit forces. They was using spiritual science against us. Remember, we lost our spiritual knowledge 6,000 years ago, and we've been suffering ever since. Yes, take your time, family. Watch the classes. I would say more than once. I also told you this is really a part 2. Watch the lecture we did on spirit and soul. We did that 4 years ago. So definitely check that one out again and watch this one again. Link them up. Here it is. This is our YouTube channel. We did what is spirit and soul? What is spirit and soul? I did that 4 years ago. So now we got a more in-depth discussion on the subject matter. I hope it helped. I hope it helped. With that being said, we'll close out with a namaz. Let's end with a namaz today. Let's see. We're gonna end with a namaz. We did a lot. We did good. We did real good. Let's go to our traditional one. It's right here. Where we at? There's always more. But take your time, digest this. This was a lot of information. I always disclaimer. I'm not above making mistakes. I do make mistakes. I know I do. So I always have to put that out there. Family, help me out. Help me out. If you see any errors or glitches, whatever, I'll make corrections as needed. No problem. No problem. So I always want to give that disclaimer. We work to do our best, the best we can do, right? To get this out. We're charged by our ancestors to teach our people to get back to their nature. Bade kala namasa wufad ko amar kasamun shalal pa'ut. Panan safa kawan. Pa sawat wu pa tara. Z kawuna nazula laha enkum. Manas sabat Wu-Sabat. Amar hadayan shafe'un. Manas salafu wu nataru. Aju laye nafashu kum afuk shana kawun kuma. Pa sawat wu pa tara. This book is the truth in the way. It was sent down for you all from Sabat's side, star constellation, as a guidance and a healing. From your ancestors and overseers, return to your own, accept what is yours, the truth and the way. Annun tawa ankum lahad panan shafe'un wu alaj. Annun tawa ankum lahad nasuinun. Annun tawa ankum lahad ashuk. Ankum at the salafunun. Annun at the khadat ukum. Annun talub nasar kuma. Annun talub nasar kuma. And sor nun sayim nataru. And sor nun salafunun. Annunata munwapu. We thank you all for this healing and cure. We thank you all for not forgetting us. We thank you all for Ashuk. You are our ancestors. We are your children. We seek your help. We seek your help. Help us, divine overseers. Help us, our ancestors. We almost bow. Anun. Atun. Atun. Wadu Moisar. Wadu Moisar.